There we go.
There we go. All right, you back and unmuted.
I
This
am
is like this is like, hey, let's everybody watch us broadcast technical difficulties for just let's just do it. See how many we can have in a row.
exactly. I don't know what happened for you, but it just completely locked up for me. I was like, oh, great.
I should have. It was a fantastic face that you had when you froze up on my side, so I should have took a picture of it. I'm not sure which one made it to Facebook, but
Maybe it just sat that'll be the thumbnail for this. Well, thanks, Max, for doing this with me. This is not my first Facebook Live, but it's the first time doing it with Zoom.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't know if it's because I had a couple of windows open that my aging MacBook just said, nope, not enough power here. But anyway, we had a conversation for the Morning Tempo podcast, my small biz podcast that just came out Wednesday. And I guess we spoke only about a week ago because of our chance meeting at Podcast Movement 2020 virtual.
yeah, our chance virtual meeting. That's the 2020 way to do it.
Yeah. So I would love to take just a few minutes for you to follow up on this thing that we touched on in the full episode of the podcast conversation, and that is how you're leveraging your network to grow your business. I found it rather inspirational. I found it to be a great reminder, but I thought this is going to be inspirational, I think, to a lot of people. So maybe you just want to talk a little bit about what you said, or maybe you want to expand on what you said the other day.
Yeah, sure. So I guess to start off, uh, I think a lot of people, more and more people, are knowing that podcasting is a growing industry, and it's there's never been a better time to start a podcast. And it's funny because I feel like every year you say that more and more, and it's like, okay, so when is actually the best time to start it? But it is a great time to start one. And just from my personal experience with my own podcast, as well as coaching and advising others is to start their own podcast and those for their business. I think one of my favorite parts of it and benefits is, especially when you have an interview podcast, it's the network that comes out of it. And think about it when you have an interview show where you're interviewing somebody every week or twice a week, however frequent your podcast is. That's a new connection that you have, a fantastic relationship off the bat just once you have that interview. And then who knows, like, what that connection will lead to, and who in their network that they'll either introduce you to, or somebody that will come, like out of the woods from their network that will reach out and want to do business with you, or just, introductions to somebody else. And who knows, like, how you can help them, or somebody in your network can help them. So think about kind of that. That's kind of a microcosm, but then think about, okay, if you're doing this every week, or you're doing this, several times a month, think of like how that kind of goes to an exponential level there. So it's one of the biggest takeaways that I've had just from my podcasting experience so far is how powerful it is as a networking tool. And also when you are launching something, like we talked about with me launching my new podcast production business, when you are launching something, or when you're launching a book, or when you're launching an online course, something like that, those are awesome times to leverage your network, and really times that you can lean on that network that you've created from your podcast. So it kind of comes full circle in that sense.
Yeah, and to get into the minutia, I really loved that you said something to the effect of you're making time to reach out to 4 or 5 people on a weekly basis that are in your growing network, to just try to catch up with them, schedule a super short call if they're interested, but also probably during that outreach, letting them know about these new things that are happening in your life, like the business being the podcast production business still being relatively new. And that was like the great reminder for me, because I think of doing this, during the initial launch of something, or maybe in past years, I did it when I was looking for a job or
Right.
something. But it felt like when you told me what you were doing, you're just doing it on an ongoing basis. And I thought that was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's an ongoing basis. And I think it's, uh, I'm somebody who, like, I had heard about networking when I was in school and when I was studying business. So I wasn't, like, completely foreign to it, but I wasn't somebody who was just like, ooh, networking. Like, this is like a thing you have to do. And this is like, every chance I get, I'm going to make a new connection in college. Like, if I could go back in time, I definitely would have, reached out and met more people in college. But like, um, I think it's much easier it's a much organic way to go about networking is to have a podcast and to connect with people through that route than it is to just, randomly DM people without really a good reason to talk to them, and say like, hey, let's talk. Because, people, people are, people are getting messages all the time. It's not exciting, and actually it can be a bit overwhelming if you're getting messages and it's like, what, I'm already, strained on time. I can't sacrifice this much of my time to meet with people that I don't even know what's going to come out with it or who they are really.
Yeah.
But if it's something where you're connecting for a podcast, like, people love telling their story. There's inherent value. It's free promotion for their brand. Like, there's something really cool that's mutually beneficial in the podcasting space. And so it's just a much more attractive thing and an organic way to just meet and connect with cool people that who knows what it'll lead to, like some of your guests, realistically, you might never talk to them again. But some of them you might end up doing business and become, clients for years on years, or they introduce you to a new business opportunity and vice versa. So it is definitely a constant thing, and it's kind of a fun thing to see of, where just any connection will take you. But having a consistent podcast is just a wonderful way to do that.
Yeah, and something I hadn't thought about just in the context of our conversation and reaching out to people is that we have sort of a new excuse for connecting with one another, and it's what the situation that the pandemic has put us all into. So I suppose
Yeah.
what a wonderful time to kind of say hi to friends or get to know
Yeah.
someone that you didn't know as well. So that's another nice part of it. Have you I wanted to ask you, I suppose in a roundabout way, you already explained how this is happening, but are there other ways that you can share with people that the podcast itself is helping the family business Hippo Direct and or B Max Podcasting, the new business?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you some quick examples of both. So Wild Business Growth Podcast, it started really as a way to market the family business, Hippo Direct. And I think eh, pretty quickly, I mean, it takes a long time to build podcasts, but, pretty early on, we started seeing like, hey, this podcast is definitely getting our business and our branding in front of people that previously like had no idea what we did, or like just completely had no idea about the space we're in, and like the mailing list and email list space. So that was a cool thing in the beginning, and then over time we had guests. We have people that are, I guess you could say, friends of the program or close to the program would
Yeah.
reach out, like if they were, planning their marketing for the next year and saying, hey, you know what? I actually need some help with direct mail, or I need some help with email marketing. And we were much more top of mind for them because, we had this connection through the podcast than, another marketing company in that space. So I think that it served as a good differentiator out the gate. And it's it's cool. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, but as far as the Max podcasting side of things goes, like my bread and butter, what I do is podcast production. So it's really more on the production side than the hosting side. But Wild Business Growth now lives under Max Podcasting, and how it kind of works now. I want to make sure that I have, a personal podcast, Wild Business Growth Podcast, that is my, content pillar, where every single week I'm putting out an episode and just interviewing fascinating people, diving into those, I say, wild ideas, wild growth, just really interesting stories that people can learn from, but also be entertained from. And when it's kind of like a side benefit of that, I don't even know if side benefit is a term, but a side benefit of
It
it,
is.
a positive side effect is it's kind of turned into like a sizzle reel for my work as well.
Oh,
And so like
nice.
I literally, after got to episode 100, I was just planning this new site, was like, I literally need to embed the episode 100 special on the homepage of Max Podcasting, because it's really like a best of reel of Wild Business Growth, but also I think it's some of the best editing and production work that I've ever done. So it works twofold. And so like I'm really excited to keep Wild Business Growth going, because I'm doing, the hosting and the production for that. And then for my clients in large scale, I'm just doing the production work and helping with brainstorming from that standpoint. But it's really cool to have kind of the dynamic of both of those.
Very nice. I love it. I think you've given me some ideas in the couple of conversations we've had, and hopefully we've given other podcasters and just business people in general some ideas that are frankly kind of outside of the podcasting part, or just old school things. But it's just a great reminder, like I
Yeah.
said, that old school still works. So.
Right, exactly. I'm like the oldest school guy out. No, I'm just kidding. But like yeah, I think that's a fascinating point. Like, and you hear it time and time again. I'm sure you've heard it with your guests. I've heard it with my guests. Is like there's some core principles and some key business lessons that have been around for decades on decades,
Yeah.
and like they still apply. It's just the mediums are different. So like 20 years ago, podcasting literally didn't exist, but there are efforts that will totally help your podcasting that would help you with TV ads and billboards like 40-50 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it's the same. It's really cool to see like how certain approaches, certain strategies still work in this new environment. And the same thing, like 30-40 years from now, like who knows when people are doing like 4-dimensional TikTok lives with holograms, like who knows what it's going to be, but like some of these same strategies are still going to apply.
It's true. Well, Max, thank you again. This was really fun. Uh, and as we talked about earlier, I have another one of these in about 10 minutes. And I know you have an interview coming up for the podcast pretty soon. And anybody
Yeah,
who heard me just say I have another one of these in 10 minutes, it's actually happening on YouTube on the Unstarving Musician
there you
page.
go.
But I hope that we'll do another one of these sometime soon. And thanks for all the love on LinkedIn and everywhere else regarding the episode that we did together. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Hey, anytime you want, happy to jump back on. And thank you so much for the support and featuring me. And it's a great interview and just love your stuff. So anytime. But have a great one. Good luck with your next interviews, and we'll we'll cross paths again shortly, I'm sure.
All right, man. Peace. Good to talk to you.
All right, peace. Have a good one.